While Mafia the Old Country was installing, I decided to take a look through its trophy list to try and find the most BS sounding one, and naturally I assumed it would be the trophy for beating the race in under 8 minutes, which kind of triggered me because of all the pain and suffering I endured trying to beat the race on hard difficulty in Mafia 1, which was so BS that it almost made me rage quit that entire game's platinum. Yet, when I played the game and got to the race in the story, I quickly realised that it was an easy scripted race to win in about 6 minutes. And plus, if you crashed, you could just reload the checkpoints mid-race to try it again. So, Mafia 1's race was extremely hard, yet the Old Country one was extremely easy, so cheers for that game. So, then I thought, maybe it could be one of the many stealth trophies in Old Country for getting through areas without ever being spotted, but you know what? All of those were easily too, as you could easily just restart the checkpoint if you were ever caught. So, as I didn't see any BS trophies, I didn't really have any worries when playing through this game, but by the time I unlocked the Platinum Trophy, I realised that the most BS trophy in Mafia the Old Country was another Mafia trophy classic, the dreaded Collectibles trophy.
No! God, please, no!
Though thankfully none of them were as awkward to get as some of those wanted posters in Mafia 2 for the Card Sharp trophy, but they were still pretty BS, and in today's episode I'll tell you why the Collector trophy is
that one bullshit PlayStation trophy.
So one of the things that makes this annoying is that the Collector trophy is for getting 100% of the collectibles, of which you'll think that you only need the 3 sets that you see in the menu, the 23 photographs, the 20 Saint cards, and the 50 newspapers, but you also actually need to make sure you've grabbed the 50 hidden foxes too. Despite the foxes having their own trophy, they count for this one as well. Why? Why is it like that? I don't know. And if you get all of the others before the foxes, you'll likely just think this one is glitched and maybe even give up when you didn't need to. Another problem is that your collection isn't really 100% despite this trophy asking for it, because there are other collectibles in the game, like these notes and diary entries that you'll find, along with some other crap that you can pick up throughout the game's chapters, yet those are just seemingly pointless and don't count for any trophy, so why did they even bother to make them? It's just weird. So, despite the vast majority of these collectibles being found in the game's open world, the game stupidly locks a handful of each of these collectible types behind specific missions, meaning that if you miss them, you'll have to replay that entire chapter again to grab them, which can become tedious, especially if it's one of those chapters with a lot of talking and slow walking before you even get to the shooty bit where the collectible is. While we're on the subject of open worlds, this game isn't actually an open world game. The developers were pretty clear that it's a linear cinematic story game with basic stealth, shooting and driving gameplay, and that's pretty much it. And there's nothing to do in the open world except just randomly driving around and picking up these collectibles, but my god, why? If they were specifically not making an open world game, then why did they bother to just scatter these collectibles around the map? Especially in areas you won't go to in any of the story missions, because if you try and explore in the story, you'll get a timer counting down, which will just make you fail the mission if you stay out of the area too long. They said it wasn't open world, so just why bother doing this? They could have spent that dev time of making and placing these and making sure all the counters worked and the trophies popped, just doing some simple side quests for the open world, or hell, what about a bunch of basic checkpoint races for the horse and car dotted around the map? Anything Hangar 13 would have been better than just sprinkling some crap collectibles about the place. In fact, I'd rather they just hadn't bothered at all and just spent more time on the game's story. I mean, the trophy could have just been for getting all those collectibles in the missions that just don't count for anything. It just really does suck all the fun out of the platinum journey going for the collector trophy, and the open world free ride part of the game is just such an afterthought. There's no GPS or waypoints for you to place on the map to guide you to the collectible you're travelling towards, so it just makes the driving really awkward as you're constantly opening and closing the map to see if you're still on the right track of where you're needing to go. And another bugbear with the map was that the collectibles only appear on it if you have been in that specific area and just happen to be near them, otherwise you won't see them on the map. And stupidly, the foxes will only appear on the map once you've found them, and there's no menu in game for these collectibles for you to see which foxes you are missing, yet you can do that for all the others, so why did they leave the foxes out? And you can't even filter the map screen to only show you specific collectibles, making it harder to use because you can't really see them all when they're all these tiny little white shapes that don't really stand out that much on the map when there's loads of things there. It's just such a basic and underdeveloped feature that only adds to the frustration and ends up wasting more time as you awkwardly try and figure out where everything is. And as the game isn't an open world proper, you can expect lots of invisible walls dotted around the place, as sometimes you could be right by a collectible that's just down this little path, but you're unable to get there as an invisible wall blocks you, preventing you from just going down the smallest of ledges or jumping across a few rocks, meaning you then have to get back in your car and drive around the whole area to get to the other side, just wasting more time. And sometimes you might end up getting through those invisible walls and ending up finding yourself stuck, trapped in this dead area of the map, forcing you to then just spawn somewhere else and restart. The collectibles don't do anything either, except unlock these trophies. There's no new car, horse or cool costume for you to wear that gets unlocked when you find them all, which again just shows you how pointless these things are. The photographs all have these annoying camera focus minigames attached to them, which just wastes a couple of seconds each time you pick up one, and finding the circle to stand in to take the photos in the first place can be hard to spot because the circle is like a grey-white colour which just blends into the dirt of the road and doesn't stand out at all. Make it like a bright green or red circle that I can easily see when just driving around. The prayer type things that you do, they're probably the easiest ones to find, as the rock structures really do stand out and they're pretty recognisable when driving around, though some of these collectibles can be placed in awkward to reach areas that you have to climb up these little ledges within like the cliff edge to eventually work your way around to climb up to reach them. The newspapers, though, are by far the most annoying, as there's just too many of them at 50, and you can't really see them in your listen mode, so it's really hard to spot them, even with like the glow effect that you have on them, because they can sometimes be placed on floors, or in corners on shelves, or on tables, or just anywhere really, so there's never really a set place that they're going to be, and even with the icon on the map showing you where they are, they can still be awkward to try and reach. And requiring the foxes on top of all of those just frustrates, as, like the newspapers, there are too many of them scattered around, and like I said, they don't show up on the map until you've found them, at which point that's just useless, and these can be placed in really sneaky areas at times. Ugh, collectibles. Just stop. I hate them. I really do. And on the whole, I beat Mafia's story in around 15 hours, and I only really had the collectible trophies and a few of the kill-based trophies to grind afterwards in order to get the platinum, but I still didn't end up popping the plat until another 8 hours of gameplay, and that's a really long time to be driving around a pretty but rather soulless map, just slowly getting in and out of my car to awkwardly run around and slowly pick up the collectibles again and again. And even though there weren't as many as in Mafia 2 with the wanted posters, it still took me just as long, but this one was even more boring because unlike that game, you don't even have any music in your cars to listen to, and the cars will just break down at any second once you crash into a few things. And they'll just slip and slide all over the place or roll down hills when you get out of the car, when you have to run down and catch them up to get back in. And this collectible journey in this dull open world that shouldn't even be here just ruined an otherwise great platinum journey. The collector trophy in Mafia the Old Country therefore deserves its BS trophy rating up.